Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are taking a good hard look under the hood of a tool that, let's be honest, is probably sitting on your phone right now. We all know that little green owl, right? But the psychological and data-driven machinery actually powering this app is surprisingly deep. We're not just looking at some digital textbook today. Nope, we are going to unpack a brilliant, frankly fascinating exercise in behavioral engineering. We're going to explore exactly how they design for habit, how they structure their massive growth, and the unbelievable amount of data processing that happens literally every single time you answer a question.
Over 500 million. That is the sheer global scale of this app's user base. I mean, to put that into perspective for a second, if this user base were a country, it would literally be the third most populous nation on Earth. We are talking about over 500 million people spanning every single time zone, consistently logging in to learn a new language. And look, achieving this level of scale doesn't just happen by accident, and it for sure doesn't happen just by offering a really good set of digital flashcards. No, getting to this size requires a fundamental shift in how human beings actually interact with education.
Which naturally brings us to a central, kind of humorous question, right? Why is a little animated green bird so incredibly good at making you study? Just think about it. Historically, studying is viewed as a chore. It's that thing we constantly put off doing. And yet, millions of us willingly pull out our phones to knock out these lessons on our morning commutes, or during our lunch breaks, or right before we go to sleep. So today, we need to shift our perspective. We have to stop seeing this as just a simple, quirky language tool and start seeing it for what it truly is, a highly complex, carefully calibrated, habit-forming engine.
Section 1. The Gamification Moat. Let's talk about building a daily habit.
So, in the business world, a moat is basically a competitive advantage that protects your market share from rivals. But for this company, their competitive moat actually isn't the language content itself, it's gamification. It is the brilliant application of game design elements and principles to tap directly into our neurological loops. You see, the company realized really early on that the biggest hurdle in learning a language, it isn't the difficulty of memorizing grammar rules, it's human motivation. By applying gamification, they fundamentally changed the whole learning experience. They engineered it to feel way less like the absolute chore of traditional studying and so much more like the dopamine-fueled rush of playing a video game. They are quite literally actively hacking your brain's reward system.
And to do that, it relies heavily on three core mechanics: streaks, leaderboards, and XP points. What's absolutely fascinating here is that these are the exact same neurological loops utilized by massive social media platforms. The streak mechanism? That creates an incredibly powerful psychological aversion to loss. You know that feeling. You'll log in at 11:50 p.m. completely exhausted just to save a 100-day streak because you simply do not want to see that counter reset to zero. Then you have leaderboards, which trigger our innate human competitive drive. It pushes you to do just one more quick lesson so you can pass some complete stranger in the Bronze League. And finally, XP points give you immediate, tangible rewards for microactions. So they didn't just build a curriculum. They brilliantly built an unshakable daily habit.
Section 2. The Freemium Data Engine. Frictionless Expansion.
Okay, so how do you actually turn that powerful psychological hook into a massive, sustainable business advantage? Well, they do it through an incredibly elegant dual-pronged model. On one side, you have the completely free core product. By keeping the main app entirely free, they removed all the friction, allowing for rapid, truly global expansion. Anyone, anywhere with a smartphone can play. Then, on the other side, you have the premium monetization tiers, things like Super Duolingo and the English Test. Now, this premium tier passively handles the revenue generation. They don't need to force every single person to pay because even a small percentage of hundreds of millions of users, that is still a staggering revenue stream. But those free users, well, they serve a completely different and arguably much more important purpose.
And this leads us to a massive paradigm shift. As the strategy goes, the mass audience remains the engine of their data. In traditional business models, a free user is often just viewed as a cost center, just someone taking up expensive server space. But in this playbook, free users are the vital fuel actually powering the company's intelligence. Every single tap, every mistake you make on a weird verb conjugation, every tiny hesitation before answering a question, it's all a meticulously recorded data point. The free tier isn't just a massive marketing funnel, it is quite literally the world's largest laboratory for human learning.
Section 3. Optimizing for retention. Let's dive into the technology layer.
So what do they actually do with all that behavioral data generated by over 500 million people? Well, they feed it into a relentless A/B testing machinery. Here's how it works. Step 1, they test a notification or a specific type of exercise. They might send out 2 slightly different versions of a push notification to millions of users simultaneously. Step 2, the AI systems analyze the results, essentially learning exactly how you, the user, learn and react. And then step 3, they optimize. Think about it. If a famously passive-aggressive push notification from that green bird gets a 2% higher open rate than a polite one, the system adapts. Every single notification, every sound effect, every color choice on your screen is meticulously engineered and constantly being refined based on these massive data sets of micro-interactions.
But what is the ultimate goal of all that crazy engineering? Well, the system optimizes for retention over absolutely everything else. Think about that for a second. They aren't necessarily optimizing for you to become perfectly fluent in the absolute shortest amount of time possible. No, the primary metric of success for this massive data engine is simply keeping you coming back to the app, day after day, week after week. Because if you stay in their ecosystem, the gamification works, the data keeps flowing, and eventually the monetization follows. Retention is the absolute holy grail of their entire strategy.
Section 4. Winning user attention. The ultimate thesis.
When you pull all of this together, when you combine the psychological hooks of gamification, the brilliant economics of the freemium model, and the technological engine of relentless A/B testing, you arrive right here. If you win the user's attention, you win the market. It sounds simple, right? But it is incredibly difficult to execute. In today's digital economy, our attention is our most valuable commodity. And this playbook proves that by mastering user engagement, by making learning as compelling as mindlessly checking a social media feed, you can achieve unprecedented market penetration. They didn't just disrupt language learning, they figured out exactly how to monopolize our spare moments.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative thought. How much of your own daily routine is being gamified right now? We've unpacked how one specific app uses streaks, AI-driven notifications, and reward loops to capture your attention. But as you look at your own smartphone habits today, what other apps are running this exact same playbook on you? From your fitness trackers buzzing on your wrist to your productivity tools at work, the machinery of gamification is everywhere. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this gives you a whole new perspective on the digital world you interact with every single day.